Welcome to the CHCH Newsmakers podcast. I'm Rick Zamperin. If it's making news in Hamilton, Halton, and Niagara, across Canada or around the world, we're going to tackle it here on Newsmakers. What happens when you need an organ transplant? March is Kidney Health Month, and April is Be a Donor Month. And our guest today knows all too well the importance of getting the message out there. Saverina Scozzari is one of many patients who've received a kidney transplant at St. Joseph's Hamilton Healthcare and joins us on Newsmakers. Thanks for joining us today.
Thank you so much for having me. It's great to finally meet you in person. I know we connected on LinkedIn.
Yeah,
so it's
likewise.
Great to be here.
Thanks for coming in. Your story is an exceptional one, but there's an important messages behind it. Let's talk about when it all began. When you were born, this is when you developed kidney disease. Tell us about that.
Yeah, so September 26, 1997, almost 29 years ago, which is hard to believe.
Yeah.
I don't know how I feel about saying that. But I was born, my kidneys never fully developed in the womb, so we knew at some point, probably in my 20s, 30s, I would need a transplant at some point. Mm-hmm. So we just monitored it. I was a patient at McMaster Sick Kids, had a great team, and then around puberty, like 14, 15, your hormones change, and that causes your kidney function to drop. So we just kept monitoring closely, and then at 18, I aged out of Mac, moved to St. Joe's, and that's when things became real. The language is very different. I did not know that you would need more than one transplant in a lifetime, especially if you're younger getting it. And because my parents were both donors and matches, we wanted to just get straight to transplant because it would be a better quality of life than dialysis for someone my age.
So when you say things got real, you came to the realization that, one transplant is probably not going to do the trick.
Yeah, and also it's a matter of life or death. I just thought, I was in my own little world, at Mac. I would just go color at the table. My parents would talk to the doctors, where this time I was having those conversations.
Yeah. Did that put into perspective how your parents dealt with it when you were a child?
It did. It's a lot of responsibility, and I'm grateful to them that I was able to have a regular childhood and not know too much of what was happening, because I think my life would be very differently.
Mm-hmm. So you're 18, 19, you get this more serious news, or at least news that, gets your attention a little bit more. How did you deal with that?
It was tough. I think my anxiety started around then. Anxiety, depression. I just kind of threw myself into work as a distraction. I was in denial. I didn't really want to face it. And then COVID struck. I was 22, 23, and we were very close to transplant time. At the beginning of the pandemic, they stopped doing transplants. So that was a very worrisome time.
Right. Because you're probably thinking, it's never going to get done now.
Yeah. I mean, that was my hope.
Yeah. So talk about your mental state, because this is, our viewers and our listeners will, quickly realize that the mental health component of your journey is a big one. And you're, highlighting the fact that, you needed a new kidney, but we're also dealing with some mental health issues because of what you were going through. So talk a little bit about the struggles in that journey.
So, it starts right before transplant. Things move very quickly. It was 2022, November, December, when we set the date for January 5th, 2023. It was still pandemic time, so there's still lockdowns, restrictions, so there's a lot of isolation. I was kind of treating every moment like it was my last, because I didn't know if I was going to wake up from surgery. I didn't know what life was going to look like. So there's a grieving process that starts beforehand. And then when I woke up, in my case, my dad was my donor. His kidney was larger than what I had room for, so they had to do some extra digging in there. They made it work. Science is magical for that. But they had to monitor me very closely. So I woke up, my doctor, Dr. Ganji, has this panicked face, and I've never seen him look concerned. He's always smiling and relaxed. Nurses are running around. I just wanted my mom. And then I found out that there was an outbreak on my floor, so I couldn't have any friends or family at that time.
Wow.
I needed several blood transfusions because they had to cut me up more. I lost a lot of blood. My levels kept dropping. There was a point where I didn't know if I was going to leave the hospital alive. I thought the only way I was going home was in a body bag, and that weighs very, very deeply on you.
And how difficult is that? I mean, you're thinking of that. You have no family or friends around to kind of, decompress or help you take your mind off things. How did you deal with it?
I mean, I listened to music in my room. I had great nurses. I'm so thankful for them. They were like moms for me, like rubbing my back, holding my hand. I cried a lot. I didn't sleep for 6 days, so you can imagine you feel insane at that point. My medical team was great. A lot of FaceTimes, which was very helpful. Had a nice room because I was on surgery watch. I got my own room, had a nice window, and
that's always a plus.
Yes. I was there for 9 or 10 days. So
how long after your surgery were family allowed to get to you to the hospital?
I think it was 3 or 4 days because my anxiety was so bad. They made an exception for my mom to come see me, and she was bringing me like Big Bacon Classic so I could eat actual food when I could eat. Because for the first few days since I was on surgery watch, I could only have a tablespoon of ice chips every half hour, which is torture.
Not satisfying at all.
No. I want a steak, but
yeah, it's always nice to have mom around when things aren't looking the brightest, right? What did she say to you that made you, kind of take a deep breath?
I mean, we watched movies on my computer. We watched Princess Diaries, 13 Going on 30, all the feel-good stuff, just to take my mind off of things. And she would sit with her feet resting on my bed. Just, those couple of hours made such a big difference, and I just wanted to go home.
Yeah. Now, studies show 60% of individuals who need a kidney transplant go through this, depressive state at times. Were you told that? Did you know this was potentially on the table?
No, not until I experienced it. Like they said, the meds could cause anxiety and depression, but I didn't realize how extreme it would be. Especially in my case, I had a lot of complications. I experienced rejection 3-4 months in, and then I experienced steroid-induced mania from the treatment for rejection. I also had PTSD symptoms. It just added up, 3 blood viruses, so I was very traumatized, and I knew what I was experiencing was different from anxiety. It just took 8 or 9 months to diagnose what was really happening. So I just wish there was more education about that. And I didn't realize how many fellow patients experience PTSD, the nightmares about surgery. And there were times where I'd be at home, safe in bed, but I could hear the nurses running around. I could feel the IV line in my neck and my arms. I still experience that to this day.
And this is part of the reason why you're here, to say, this is a reality when you're going through this process. All those months later, how did you come to the realization that I need some help? And what did that help look like?
So because of the steroid-induced mania, I was only sleeping 2 hours a week. And
wow, 2 hours a week?
Yeah. The meds give you lots of energy. It attacks your nervous system, your muscles, so I couldn't sit still for more than 30 seconds. I was pacing 4 hours a day. And for me, that's not living. And I was at a point where I'm like, you know what? I didn't sign up for this. I don't want to be here anymore. This isn't the life that I want for myself. And my dad, God bless him, was walking with me for 4 hours every day. And I finally told him what I was experiencing. And he said, you know what, reach out to Dr. Ganji. So I reached out to his nurse, Cindy, that night at 9:30 at night. Dr. Ganji called me on my cell phone. He's like, how can I support you? And he set me up with someone.
Wow. So what happened next? What kind of process did you have to go through to get to a better place?
So we started with exposure therapy, just speaking about everything that happened. Even having this conversation was not possible without tears and having flashbacks. And it's, we were able to talk through it and not just acknowledge the negative, but also realize that there were positives that came out of the situation. And I think even realizing that the transplant was just a chapter in my story and not the whole story.
And so all these years later, this is 2.5, 3 years ago now. Yeah. How are you feeling now?
I feel great. We're finally at a point where we were working towards. I get to go in every 6 months, which is great, instead of twice a week. So I feel like I can reclaim my life and my power. And I'm very excited about that.
Physically, how are you?
Physically, I'm great. I exercise every day. I can socialize with my friends and family and be involved in the community.
How big of a factor were your parents? Like, your dad's the donor, your mom's by your side, you know, your most critical moments. Like, family is everything at this point.
Yeah, I mean, they're my reason for fighting. You see people later in life going through transplant. They have their spouses and their kids. For me, I had my parents. And if I didn't have that, I don't think I'd have a reason to still be here.
Now, so your dad was a match. How early on in the process did they get tested to see if they were matches? Like, was it a grueling time to find someone?
No. So they tested as soon as we switched from McMaster to St. Joe's at 18. They wanted to make sure everything was set and ready to go, and then you retest every year because they do this really cool thing where they'll take my cells through blood work and they'll take theirs and see how they interact. So they did that every year until we had the transplant.
Okay. And so every year the check marks were across the board saying, okay, we're still good.
Yep.
Okay. Mentally, was that a drain on you? Knowing that, you know, if it didn't work this time, you know, we'd be in the lurch.
Yeah. I mean, I don't think I let my brain go there because I was already overwhelmed that I would have to face my worst nightmare at some point.
Yeah. And how was your dad in this process?
Oh, he's Superman. He is my best friend, my rock. We're a lot alike. Our first phone call after surgery, I called him. I didn't even say hello. I just said, "You gave me a fat kidney," and he said, "I'm going to give you a fat lip."
Nice to see humor is still, you know, well in play. A big part of your life now is being an ambassador for kidney transplant at St. Joe's Hamilton Healthcare, and a fundraising component in that as well. Tell us about that.
So I love to dance. I love 80s freestyle music.
Who doesn't?
Yes, I actually got to see him last year, which was a big highlight for me because that was something that I was working towards.
Yeah.
So I started the event way back lunch. What was it, 2024, I want to say, with DJ Danny D, Tony Monaco from Z1035. We do all 80s music. It's a lunch benefit, raising money for mental health support in the kidney transplant clinic. So the first year we raised, I want to say, $21,000, and then last year we raised $32,000, and we're going on year 3, and we've been able to hire 2 psychology fellows to treat kidney transplant recipients.
So the impact is real.
Yeah.
Wow. What's your advice to those who are going through this process right now and maybe not even at the point where they have a match? They know that they need a new kidney or another new organ and they're waiting.
I would say chat with someone, whether it's a counselor or a therapist, to begin, just to help you, because it's a huge transition, the before, the during, the after. Even finding a match can be very grueling, very stressful. There's a lot of ups and downs. The physical parts, emotionally draining, physically draining, mentally draining. So it's nice to have an outside perspective. Your family and friends are going to want to be there for you, and sometimes you're not going to want to hear what they have to say. So it's nice to have outside help.
What was the most challenging part of this, either physically or mentally, for you?
I think the sense of identity. For the longest time, I felt like I was the transplant. I didn't know myself outside of it because you're going to the hospital every day. I was isolated for 8 months, so you're just seeing the nurses and doctors, and you're getting poked at, and that seems like your only purpose. You feel like a lab rat. So just finding my purpose outside of that and realizing that that's just a small amount of time, creating new memories with family and friends so that you move further away from that, but still being grateful for that time.
How did that affect things like schooling and friends?
So, I mean, schooling, I didn't actually go to college or university. I started at Cable 14 at 14 years. Again, I just threw myself into work and whatever to distract myself. I was also a dancer. The nice thing about before transplant was I was never medicated. I had a lot of energy, and that was a big reason why I struggled after transplant, because I finally learned what it felt like to feel sick.
Right. Yeah, and so that must have been a drain on you, not only physically but mentally, to say, I can't do the things that I want to do.
Yeah, it was frustrating, and I know Dr. Ganji, poor guy, I kept texting him. He said I gave him grace that year. I was texting him every week, like, hey, can I ride the bike? Can I go on the elliptical? He's like, no, just walk, no weights. And I'd even try to go around and ask his nurse if I could do things. Like, I heard you asked her. The answer's still no.
There are so many stories. Anyone who's been in a hospital setting and receiving care, whether it's a transplant or whatever the care is, they more often than not have an exceptional story about a physician or a nurse, a doctor, a specialist who was just amazing. And it sounds like you have many of those.
Yeah, I've been really grateful. In my 29 years, I've had a great team. My first doctor, Dr. Steele, the day I was born, he was in Ireland on vacation, and he was telling the nurses over the phone how to treat me, and they saved my life, or else I would have died at
really?
2 or 3 days old. Yeah.
Wow. And so how did they save your life? What did they have to do?
They just knew like what testing they had to do on me and keep me hydrated, that kind of thing. I don't know specifics because I was just 2-3 days old.
Right. And 20 odd years later, you're having another life-saving operation. Your parents must have been extremely worried as well.
Yeah, there's a grief for them as well, and you kind of have to hold space for that. Like, it's not just all about you. I seen what it did to them, seeing me experience the side effects with the prednisone treatments. I had tremors. I couldn't feed myself or dress myself, and their eyes would water at dinner time every time I missed my mouth and got hummus on my face.
Right.
Even visiting my grandmother, it was Good Friday. 4 months after transplant, that was supposed to be when recovery's done, usually in 3 months, and I went to visit. I was all shaky and tremory, and she couldn't even look at me in the eye.
Wow. When was transplant day for you, and is that a day where you celebrate?
It is. So it was January 5th, 2023.
Okay.
Actually, my grandfather's 85th birthday.
Oh, wow.
So it's kind of a sign of good luck. So we celebrate regardless. The first year I did not want to celebrate because I was not where I thought I'd be in recovery. Took a good 1.5 years to stabilize things. So last year I decided to start my anniversary, and we went to Radius with some friends and just danced, had some cake, had some fries,
Nice.
and it just makes you really grateful and makes me realize that that's what I was fighting for.
Yeah. With the new kidney, are there things you can do that you couldn't before, or vice versa?
And there's a lot of food restrictions, which took some getting used to. I'm Italian, so I can't have tomatoes.
That sucks.
I know. I can't have like the salami, the prosciutto. I miss those things for sure.
Bet. Yeah.
So explaining that to Nana every holiday, like, sorry, can't have that.
Yeah.
That was definitely a tough adjustment.
Yeah.
But I can exercise. I have way more energy, which I didn't realize because at that time I thought that was 100% because that's what I was used to. So after transplant, I'm like, oh, it's 300%. It's awesome.
Wow. So what would you rate your percent of energy before transplant? Now knowing that you're at 100%, would that be like 50 or even lower?
I would say like 20 to 30%.
Wow.
Yeah, I napped a lot.
Wow. So now you're an ambassador. You're a kidney transplant ambassador. What does that mean? What do you do? What are your hopes?
My role is just to educate as much as I can, be a spokesperson, not just for fellow patients, but also for the care team. I know there can be miscommunication and misunderstanding between the two. And then just being, a shoulder to cry on for fellow patients that might feel alone. I know for me, until I seen a public campaign, I thought I was the only one that had kidney disease in the world. So it's nice to make those connections and hear different stories.
What are those meetings like?
They're interesting. I mean, I've met people all over the world, like from Australia to British Columbia to the United States. It's kind of cool to see how the different healthcare systems work as well. And there's different medications, but we all had that one thing in common: the mental health aspect of recovery.
And so I would imagine that you're much further ahead in your journey than they are. What are some of the things that you're passing along to them?
So the cool thing is that some of them are on their second transplants. Some of them are just getting diagnosed with kidney disease. So it's nice to learn things that I wish I knew when I was at their point, or even, the people that are on their second transplant. the testing's a lot different than it was 25 years ago.
Right.
So I think it opens their eyes to that.
Yeah, especially with, health technologies come a long way. I can imagine that. Things are way different now.
Yeah, and even makes you think for my next transplant, 25, 30 years from now, couldn't even be a human kidney.
It could be,
it could be a pig kidney.
Pig kidneys, right?
Yeah, or an artificial one.
Yeah.
I think they're testing that out right now.
Now, is that exciting to you or is that worrisome to you? Or are you somewhere in the middle?
I think I'm somewhere in the middle.
Right.
An artificial one would be cool because, what if that's the only transplant that you need?
Right. Yeah, if it's one and done, that's a game changer.
Yeah.
Right? So do you have a specific, you mentioned 25 to 30 years. Is that the likelihood of where you're going to have to go back in again?
Yes, especially with a living donor. That's typically the lifespan. It could be even more depending on how well you care for the kidney. But that's what I'm hoping for.
That was actually my next question. So what do you have to do to take care of your new kidney?
Well, they always say take your meds at the same time every day as instructed. I know a lot of people, they get frustrated by the side effects and then they stop their meds, and that leads to even more problems. So as long as, you eat right, you exercise, take care of your mental health, you should be good.
Yeah. What are the side effects?
Oh, they're not too fun at the beginning.
Yeah.
It takes you got to play with the dose for the first year. So again, like anxiety, depression, insomnia, increased appetite. I remember those first 6 months, I felt like I could eat a cow. I did not feel full at all. And I was just eating anything and everything I could
Minus
get my
the prosciutto
hands on.
and the salami and the tomatoes.
I know. Everything I wanted, I couldn't have. But I think I was eating like a bag of goldfish crackers a day.
Wow.
That was my go-to snack.
Yeah, that's not a bad choice. What, cheddar or what was the flavor of choice?
So they had white cheddar at the time.
Okay.
They stopped making them. I haven't been able
Maybe
to
you
find
ate
them.
out all the white cheddar.
I think so. I wouldn't be surprised the amount that I had.
Yeah.
It was 90% goldfish.
Wow, that's tremendous. So in terms of those who are on the fence when it comes to organ donation, obviously you're an ambassador, you're a proponent of, this saved your life and is saving others. What's your message to them? And they may have a number of different reasons, but what's your underlying message?
My underlying message would be to get tested, check that mark on your ID. It goes a long way. There's people waiting 15, 20 years for a transplant, and they lose their lives in the process.
Yeah.
So you can make such a huge difference. Look at my dad. He was back to regular programming within 2 weeks. So it really doesn't take that much out of you.
There have been some famous people, quote unquote, Sarah Hyland, the actress from Modern Family, Selena Gomez, actress and singer, who have gone through this process. How uplifting is that, knowing that, they're superstars, but they're also regular people as well going through this?
So uplifting. I still remember, I think I have the 17 magazine that Sarah Hyland did the interview in, where she shared her story. Her dad was also her donor.
That really hit home.
Yeah, so it was really special. I think I was like 8 or 9 at the time, and I realized a famous person is experiencing what I have, and they're on a TV show and they're still able to live their life. So that gave me some hope.
Give others some hope who are, struggling with their mental health as they search for a match, or they're going through, this journey as well. And obviously you're still on this journey. It hasn't ended yet.
No.
What's your words of advice to them?
I would say just stay open to your friends and family. You're not alone. Your brain likes to play games with you, and that's all it is. It's not reality.
Yeah. What are some of your goals? What do you hope to achieve?
Right now, I'm just all in on fundraising with St. Joe's Foundation. I got to go see Stevie B last year. I saw the CoverGirls. So I think I'm good for concerts. I'd love to go to a Green Bay Packers game. I've never been to an NFL game.
There you go.
So that's definitely
Packers,
on
are you
my
listening?
list.
Let's make this happen.
Yes. I was a little sad after Rodgers left, but
right.
Love is growing on me.
Is your dad a fan of the team too? Is this how it all started?
No, so he's a Tom Brady fan.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
So he was a Patriots fan, and then now he's a Bucs fan. He stayed a Bucs fan. So when we play each other, there's some trash talk happening in the living room.
Nice. Well, thank you so much for sharing your experience and your journey and your message with us and our viewers and people who are consuming this podcast in a number of different ways. It's so uplifting. Congratulations and keep up the great work.
Thank you so much.
All right, that is a wrap for the Newsmakers podcast. A big thank you to the all-star cast behind the scenes. If you liked today's episode, click the thumbs up, hit subscribe, leave a comment. You can catch the Newsmakers podcast on chch.com/podcasts and wherever you get your favorite podcasts.